Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael, and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named May in the AITA subreddit. The post is titled, "I said some bad things to my boyfriend in front of his friends." A little background. We have been dating since high school and we have a very jokey relationship. Poking fun at each other isn't out of the question, though if one of us says we aren't comfortable with a particular joke, the other makes an effort not to repeat it, for the most part. I have been a bit of an obsessive fan of a certain music artist since I was 14. I have more than one tattoo inspired by this artist and her aesthetic. I have seen her in concert multiple times, I own more merchandise than I can count, and I have run several different fan accounts devoted to her during this time. I understand this is unusual, and I try not to bring it up in everyday conversation because I am aware it is a bit odd. Most people who know me in passing do not know this about me. Only my best friend and my boyfriend know about my fan accounts. I am not the type of person who talks about this artist constantly, nor am I the person who is annoying in large groups about it anymore, though there was a learning curve when I was in high school, but losing friends is a great motivator to change. My boyfriend has made jokes about this on and off since we got together. Admittedly, whenever I bring up that it makes me feel insecure and unsafe expressing myself around him, he stops for a while, but he always starts up again, and it just bothers me. I can't fully explain it, but it makes me feel like the things I like are somehow inherently bad, and that he wants me to stop having this interest because he doesn't see value in it. Now, he has never actually said that, and I don't genuinely believe that, but that's how he makes me feel. An example, I had been cleaning dishes and listening to her music when he came into the kitchen and started singing along in the most high-pitched, off-key falsetto voice I had ever heard, before bursting out laughing, turning it off, and saying something like, "I don't see how you listen to this crap." This was one of the times I told him that he had hurt my feelings. He apologized, explained that he had only meant it as a lighthearted joke, and that he didn't care what kind of music I listened to. I don't really get mad over this, it just hurts my feelings. With that context out of the way, we were out at dinner with his friends and their girlfriends, and I had left to go to the bathroom. When I came back, he was showing them a video on his phone, and the audio was familiar right away. It was a performance from over a decade ago that was panned pretty universally. They were all laughing and he was making a lot of jokes, until he noticed I had gone quiet and told me to lighten up. I tried to smile, but he wouldn't drop it, so I said, "I don't like your music either, but I would never make fun of you for it, you know that?" It was a quiet meal and a quiet ride home, and now he is barely talking to me. Two of the girlfriends said I made everything awkward and that I was being unfair because we always make jokes with each other. Am I the asshole here? 2 months later, OP gave us an update, so a lot of people private messaged me and helped me work through everything regarding my now ex, including being a shoulder to cry on when I realized it wasn't going to work out. I guess I felt I owed them an update if they were interested, not to mention the great advice I received in the comments on the original post. I am deeply thankful to so many of them. A few in particular who disagreed with my take also helped me see where he may have been coming from and helped me figure out how I was going to talk to him about everything. So I did apologize for bringing it up publicly. I know that many people disagreed with me about whether I should have, but personally, I've always been the type to want to handle any grievances I may have with a loved one privately rather than publicly. I didn't like the fact that I allowed myself to break that rule, especially around his friends. He thanked me for that, but really didn't want to dig into why he felt the need to make a joke out of it. I asked if it was because I had been bringing her or her music up more than usual due to her being active in the media currently, but he denied this. Still, I continued to press, explaining that we needed to move past this one way or another because if he continued to mock or ridicule my interests, it was going to make me slowly resent him. That's something I really didn't want, but I couldn't deny it would happen if he continued to act like a bully. Eventually, after a lot of pressure, he explained that this had all started because he had complained to his friends privately about me last year, during the lead up to her album release. They didn't like the fact that I was a fan of this artist and made some political assumptions about her based on her lyrical content from over 10 years ago, teasing my boyfriend for having a wannabe trad wife girlfriend, and other things that he was resentful of, including but not limited to asking if I had daddy issues or if I had a history of sleeping with older men. I am heavily sanitizing the language used because some of what was said was disgusting, honestly. Basically, it boiled down to him trying to shame me into not liking the artist anymore so he wouldn't have to deal with his friends anymore rather than just shutting them down. I couldn't be in a relationship like that. I just couldn't. The fact that every time I had felt awful about myself and my interests for the past year, I just thought I was being oversensitive to a joke, but it was actually the point to make me feel bad. It destroyed any hope I had for the relationship. I won't lie, I've been pretty heartbroken. The breakup was shortly after the first post, and I've just gotten around to updating. So yeah, no big blowout with dramatics, no secret affair or anything. Just a man trying to make me feel small because he didn't know how to tell his friends to piss off. Boring, but depressing as hell. Lulu42 said, I've said it so many times, no one is joking when they repeatedly reference something that hurts you. It's not a joke, it's intended to make you feel bad for one reason or another. Princess Michaela said, there shouldn't be shame in liking any kind of music. Your favorite band could be Limp Bizkit or Nickelback, and if that's what speaks to you, then everyone else should shut up. I haven't listened to a ton of Lana, but I feel like every artist who's released sad pop in the last 15 years has borrowed from her. She's also almost 40, which made me feel old as hell to learn. This next post was made in the True Off My Chest subreddit by a throwaway account. The post is titled, My husband lied about coming to help me while I was critically sick. I've been married to my husband for 3 years. We have a 1-year-old daughter together. Up until recently, I thought I could count on him when I truly needed him. But last week, he proved me completely wrong. I'd been feeling off for a couple of days, fatigued, nauseous, just generally unwell. Then one morning I woke up with a fever, chills, and a deep sense that something was really wrong. I was so weak I could barely get out of bed. Taking care of our daughter felt impossible. I called my husband at work and told him I needed him to come home. He promised he would. An hour passed, then 2. He kept texting me saying he was just finishing up something and would leave soon. Then he claimed he was stuck in traffic. Then he said he was on his way but had to stop for gas. At this point, my fever was getting worse and I was struggling to even sit up without feeling dizzy. I told him it was urgent. He reassured me he was almost there, but something felt off. So I texted one of his co-workers, someone I knew he was close with. The response I got sent a chill down my spine. He hasn't left yet. He's still here. I was furious and terrified. I immediately called my neighbor, a kind older woman. She came over right away, helped me get dressed, and drove me to the hospital. It turns out I had a severe, previously asymptomatic urinary tract infection that had turned into a serious kidney infection. My heart rate was dangerously high, and the doctors told me that if I had waited much longer, I could have gone into septic shock. 2 hours later, while I was lying in that hospital bed, shaking from fever and hooked up to an IV, my husband finally decided to show up. I didn't even want to look at him. He tried to explain, saying he didn't realize it was that bad and that he was just trying to wrap things up at work. But I can't get over the fact that he lied to me over and over while I was at home struggling to stay conscious. If my neighbor hadn't been there, I don't know what would have happened to me. I feel so betrayed. If he could ignore me in a life-threatening situation, what does that say about our marriage, about our future, about our daughter's safety if something ever happens again? I don't know what to do. Would you be able to trust your partner after something like this? Update. I'm feeling better and finally back home after a few days in the hospital. My parents came to pick up my daughter and took care of her while I was away. They live 4 hours away, so I hadn't asked for their help earlier. I didn't really get an apology from him, just a bunch of excuses. He said he didn't think it was that serious and that I should have just gone to the neighbor if it was really that bad. I didn't argue, not because I agree, but because some of the comments I got made me realize some things. People asked if I'm the type to cry wolf, and that's why he didn't come. In 5 years of being together, I've only ever needed him to take me to the hospital once, when I gave birth to our daughter. He wasn't there when I was sick, and if he had come home, he probably wouldn't have done much anyway unless it required a hospital. But then someone asked me what I'd do if it was our daughter in my position and he acted the same way. That hit me hard, and as dramatic as it sounds, I don't want to be with him anymore. I don't think I can ever trust him again. I've made an appointment with a lawyer, but of course, divorce takes time. I'm looking for an apartment, but the housing shortage is a nightmare. Since I live in a rural area though, there's still hope. I haven't told him yet. He's acting like nothing's wrong, so I'm doing the same. I even saw a comment suggesting that he might not have actually been at work, maybe using it as an excuse for something else. So one night while he was sleeping, I checked his phone. I didn't find proof he wasn't at work, but I did find messages to women, multiple flirty ones, and a Tinder app. These messages have been going on for months. He was also sending TikToks to his friends while I was sick, laughing and joking around with no real concern for me. He told me his boss refused to give him time off, but I found no evidence that he even asked for time off or discussed my condition with anyone. I'm starting to suspect he lied because if he really did ask, it would have been illegal for his boss to deny him leave where I live. At this point, I don't feel like confronting him. I just want out. I ignored the red flags before, the small lies, broken promises, and I shouldn't have. I thought he'd be there for me when it mattered most, but I guess I was naive. I never thought anyone could let me down like this. I'm not telling him I'm leaving until I'm ready, just like he didn't tell me he wasn't coming. Amazing Cabinet said she is literally only alive because she stopped trusting his word. Let that sink in. Okay, Benefit said if she had died from the infection, he would have been remarried within a year and then wondered why, as an old man, his daughter doesn't talk to him. J.R. Kess said, last month I had some extreme abdominal pain and my husband didn't hesitate to offer to take me to the ER, but I felt bad enough that I thought I needed an ambulance. He stayed with me for a good 5 hours even though he needed to be at work early the following morning. Then, when I felt good enough to go to work 2 days later but started vomiting after 15 minutes, he didn't hesitate to leave work and come pick me up and take me to the ER again, without any questioning or complaining. He actually shut me down every time I apologized for being a pain. I'm not going to pretend like my husband is always the most thoughtful human being ever, but he's always been there for me when I've been sick. A partner who doesn't do the same is just not worth it. This third post was made in the parenting subreddit by a user named Responsible Box. The post is titled, "My daughter is treating my son like he's dead to her. I'm at the end of my rope and desperate for some input. This is a throwaway for the obvious sensitive reasons below. My husband and I have a daughter and a son. They have never been overly close siblings, but they weren't sworn enemies either. Just two different kids with two different personalities. As long as everyone was respectful, that was okay with me. When my daughter was 10, she was the victim of abuse by a family member, which resulted in that person being convicted and sent to jail. She was in intensive therapy for years, and we are so proud of the strong, confident, and intelligent young woman she is today. She has always, however, been very private about it. Besides our family, only her lifelong best friend and her parents knew, and that was it. My son, however, also knew about the abuse. He flippantly told some friends about it 2 months ago, and before you knew it, the whole school knew. My daughter was devastated, to say the least. She's been back in counseling since and has been coping as well as possible. This counseling has come at a financially tough time for us and is obviously worth every penny, but the fact that we can't afford more counseling factors into the other part of this. My daughter blew up at my son when this first happened, and he saw the fallout of her coping with this firsthand. But since that night when she found out he told people and word was going around, she hasn't spoken a word to him. She doesn't look at him when he enters a room, or react when he speaks directly to her, or about her, or anything else. For example, at dinner she'll speak to us and he'll chime in, and she continues the conversation as though he hadn't said anything. My son has tried daily to talk to her and has apologized, begged, pleaded, and cried, but it's always the same. She'll usually crack a book, look at her phone, put some earbuds in, and ignore him completely. She won't discuss it with me besides to say that he's dead to her and she has no intention of ever seeing or speaking to him again when she moves out in 10 months. She hasn't wavered even a bit in that sentiment since. I am at a complete loss. My son is on total lockdown. He's lost his phone, video games, any sort of privilege, or the ability to do things with friends. He essentially goes to school, comes home, does his homework, and goes to bed. He knows we are devastated and beyond disappointed. I believe he's sincerely sorry and contrite. He's broken down crying and apologizing to us more times than I can count, but I'm unsure of how to proceed. We can't afford family counseling, and my daughter's personal counselor won't talk to me about what she says to her about any of this, besides to say not to push her on anything. I know she has every right to be furious, but at the same time, I can't help but feel like it's also not mentally healthy for my son to be treated as though he literally doesn't exist in his home for the next year. I know it's a natural consequence, but it's gut-wrenching to see and be living with. Not to mention, as a mom, I don't want my kids to be permanently estranged. It breaks my heart. Has anyone else experienced anything, even in the ballpark of this, that could offer any advice? OP proceeded to leave a comment saying, I have tried to broach the topic of forgiveness and my son being sorry with my daughter. She's not interested in hearing it, seems irritated and annoyed when I bring it up, and has never once wavered from saying something like he's dead to her and she plans to never see or speak to him again when she moves out. I'm worried that if I push her on it, she'll cut us out too, as I get the sense she sees it as me taking his side. She is minimizing the time she spends at home, which minimizes their interaction, but also makes me really sad that she doesn't want to be here in the last few months before she moves out. Her therapist is understandably more concerned with her emotional well-being than our family dynamic and won't really discuss much of anything with me. She is going to college and moving out in the summer. We don't have family nearby for my son to stay with, nor do we have the funds to help pay for his upkeep, even if we did. I'm at a loss. Update. I posted about our issues last year where my son joked about my daughter's childhood sexual abuse to friends in an attempt to be edgy. She stopped speaking to him and said he was dead to her despite living in the same house as him. I want to thank people for the advice, some of it harsh but necessary. Unfortunately, things have not gotten better. My son's grounding came to an end and he got supervised access to his phone, video games, and friends back. My daughter was livid with us about it, and no amount of explanation that continual punishment for a year wasn't an option made it understandable to her. I get that from her point of view, but it began to strain her relationship with me and her dad too. She still ignored my son and he still cried and was depressed over it. I booked 3 sessions of expensive family counseling and made her come, but she just kept her earbuds on with the music playing the entire time. She turned 18 in January. My son dipped into his savings to get her a necklace. I gave it to her and told her it was from him after she opened it, and she threw it away. Within a few days, she had moved out and into her best friend's parents' house without telling us she was going to. I invited her home for Easter, and she didn't come because her brother, who had nowhere else to go, would be here. I'm still at a loss. Her graduation is next week, and we weren't formally invited by her. We basically got an "I guess you can come" when I asked. My son obviously isn't invited, and he's still struggling mentally with all of this. Therapy and medication haven't helped much, but our options for what we can afford are very limited. Has anyone been here? I never dreamed of having children estranged from each other or a daughter who pulled away from us over her brother's idiotic mistake. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, GamerSupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.